Hello class, today we'll be talking about 12.3 measures of dispersion. So in this section, we'll be looking at a few things. We will determine the range of a data set. Also, we will determine the standard deviation of a data set. Remember in the last section, we looked at mean, median, and mode. Now in this section, we're going to go a little bit further past that, but we still will have to remember how to take the mean of a data set, because taking the mean of a data set is part of finding the standard deviation. So, range, used to describe the spread of data items in a data set. Two of the most common measures of dispersion are range and standard deviation. So it says range, the difference between the highest and the lowest data values. So we have the range is equal to the highest data value minus the lowest data value. So let's actually do an example of this. So it says, and the figure shows the four oldest U.S. presidents at the start of their term. Find the age range for four oldest presidents. So we're going to find the range. So the oldest would be Trump. So we'll have range is equal to 70 minus, and the youngest is Buchanan, so it'll be minus 65. We'll get equal, and it'll be 5. So the range in this case would be 5. Because the highest is what? 70. The lowest is 65. In the oldest four presidents. It used to be Reagan until Donald Trump became president. He was 70 years old when he started his presidency. So make sure you understand what you're actually doing here. So let's look at this. It says, prepare to find standard deviation. So it says find the deviations from the mean for the 5 data items. First, calculate the mean. So we have X bar is equal to, and we got what, 70 plus 69 plus 68 plus 65. And we're going to change this because this should be 4. All right. All over 4. Therefore, when we do it, we get 272 over 4. And that'll give me 68. So our X bar, or our mean, is 68. Now, let's look at something. So when you're looking at deviations from the mean, all right, so I'm just going ahead and write these out. So I got 70, 69, 68, and 65. Draw me a little table. All right. These are the data items. All right. Let me straighten that up. So these are your x's. And this is the deviations. So deviations. All right. So it'll be your data item, which is 70, minus your mean, which is 68. So deviation is equal to x minus X bar. All right. So we do 69 minus 68. Then we're going to do 68 minus 68. Then we'll do 65 minus 68. And that's going to give you, first one's going to give you 2. The next one's going to give you 1. The next one's going to give you 0. And the next one will give you negative 3. Now the sum of all deviations, so the sum of all deviations should equal 0. So the sum of all deviations should equal 0. All right? Not square deviations, but the sum of all deviations are equal to 0. Because what? We got 2 plus 1 plus 0 plus negative 3. So we just found the deviations. So this is another part of finding the standard deviation. This is just breaking down each part. First you find the mean. Then you find the deviations. Now let's look at the rest of the steps. It says computing the standard deviation of a data set. Find the mean of the data items. Find the deviations of each data item. So that's data item minus or x minus x bar, like I was showing you. Then we have what? Square each deviation. So it'll be x minus x bar squared. Then it says take the summation of the squared deviations. So it'll be what? The summation of x minus x bar squared. So you're just adding up all the squared deviations. Then you divide by n minus 1. So it'll be the summation of x minus x bar squared all over n minus 1. Then you take the square root of the quotient. Therefore, if I were to rewrite this, this would be what? The square root of the summation of x minus x bar squared all over n minus 1. So that's just another way of writing it. As you see, they got it written out in words. I wrote it out in the actual, what they represent, x and minus x bar. X represents the data item, and x bar represents the mean. So let's look. Let's go through a problem. So, as we already know, this is a part of the problem that we had before. It says find the standard deviation of the data for the 4 presidents. Now, we already know what the mean is. It's 68. We already know what the standard deviations are. We already know what the deviations are. So let's look. So I'm going to pull this up, and I'm going to say data items. Well, I'm going to just write it as x. So we have x, then we have x minus x bar, then we have x minus x bar squared, all right, then we have the sum of x minus x bar. We're going to see what that equals. And we can actually put this at the bottom down here. So it'll be the summation of x minus x bar squared. And we'll see what that equals. So we know we got 70, 69, 68, and 65. Then we know it'll be what? From what we did before, it'll be 2, 1, 0, and negative 3. Remember, we did this a few minutes ago. Now we're going to square them. So we'll get 4. So 2 squared is 4. 1 squared is 1. 0 squared is 0. And negative 3 squared is 9. Then we add them all together. We get what? 14. Now, remember that standard deviation is equal to the square root of the summation of x minus x bar squared all over n minus 1. Now, we know what our n is because it's 4. It's 4 people. So we got standard deviation is equal to the square root of 14 over 4 minus 1. So we got the standard deviation of the square root of 14 over 3. Then this roughly gives you, when you put in the calculator, 2.16. And that is your answer. So as long as you follow the steps, if you do each step like it says, it'll be easy to find the end result of the answer. So if you have any questions, make sure you send me a message through Microsoft Teams or send me an email.